Today's video was selected for you by my gorgeous patrons, so thank you very much to them for making this selection. And if you would like to be involved in future video polls and also have access to the Discord, the one card riff video every month and other privileges as well, check out the tiers. I will leave all the information down below. Pop-Tarts, hello, welcome to the first tea and tarot for a long time, for many moons, for nearly 10 months, I think. Yeah, nearly 10 months. You know what I'm like with this series. I put it down, I come back to it, I pick it up lovingly and then throw it away again for a while. I do it when the fancy takes me, and recently I've been really feeling like I want to get the cards out again and do a tea and tarot episode. So I put 3 different choices out for my Patreon poll, and it was tight. It was tight, like a tiger, okay? If you don't know about Austin Powers, just ignore me. So yes, it was tight, but the one that won out by one vote was how to be an epic witch. Information, tips, techniques, mindset shifts, anything that we need about how to be an epic witch in 3 cards, which is usually the amount of cards that I use for tea and tarot. So if you've done this with me before, you know exactly what it is. I'm going to sip some tea. I'm going to read some cards. It's important to bear in mind a few things. First of all, there will be some cutaways, so you can actually have a look at the deck that I'm using. And I don't actually know which deck I'm using yet. I haven't chosen, but I am actually right next to my tarot corner where all of my tarot and oracle decks are. So we'll see. We'll see what I feel like. I'm not sure. It's going to be a 11th hour decision. But you will be able to see some cutaways when I'm talking about the cards. So you'll be able to enjoy the imagery. This is not an individual reading. I don't know anyone that's going to be watching this. I don't know what your individual issues are necessarily when it comes to this kind of thing. So the advice is general, but the intention is that we all come to the advice from the cards and just let it sit with us, take what resonates, really think about where that advice might fit into what is happening with us in witchcraft right now. So that's how it's going to go. The other thing I wanted to mention was, if you're not a witch and you're watching this video, there is a place for you here, because, you know, most people are spiritual practitioners of one stripe or another who watch my channel. And if not, if you're even thinking of becoming a spiritual practitioner, there's probably going to be some advice in here for you. Okay, but that is me talking at the beginning, because of course I do not know which cards are going to come up. I learn as you learn. Okay, they're totally random draws from the deck that I'm using. As you will have seen in the intro, I am drinking some Yum Cha tea today, and it's Camden Cocoa, and it tastes like chocolate. I'm very excited. I think it's probably just about time to pour it. It says on the front that it is, it's Ceylon and Chinese black tea, and it is cacao peel, coconut flakes and white chocolate chips. It's the white chocolate chips that I can taste, for real. Those white chocolate chips are intense. So I'm excited. Shall I pour some now? I think I will. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and pour it now. Okay. I've brought in some oat milk, because I'm actually just wondering, damn it, I forgot to do the bloody, I need this. I need this because it's loose leaf tea, not tea bags. Okay, fortunately I have an empty glass here that I can pour that into. Right, let me pour it through the sieve. Honestly, I'm half asleep. I've brought some oat milk in because I do wonder, I've not tried this blend before, I do wonder if it actually would be good with some milk. So let me have a little taste without the milk. I mean, that's delicious just as it is. I don't actually know if I even want to mess with that, guys. It is delicious. Let me know down below, what are you having while you watch Tea and Tarot today? No, I'm not messing with it. I'm not putting any oat milk in. I bought my my barista edition oat milk in. I actually don't always get Oatly. There's this other company that I use now that I really like. Damn it, what was it? The one with the little girl on the front dressed in a duck outfit. Anyway, that's really nice. But yeah, I bought my barista edition Oatly in. Don't need it. No, not doing it. Just gonna have it raw. Okay. So let me choose the deck. I think what I'm going to go for, darlings, is I'm going to go for Modern Witch. It's right here within reaching distance, and it kind of makes sense for a tea and tarot based around advice and ideas for being an epic witch. I'm definitely just going to keep the question for this tea and tarot as being, what advice and ideas do we need for being epic witches? You know, to be an epic witch, what do we need to know? You know, and I'm just going to let the 3 cards speak for themselves with no spread positions. Usually my intro to tea and tarot is a lot longer than this, but I've been thinking recently that it's far too long. You know, I spend far too long dicking around talking about the deck and the tea and everything. And actually what I want is to be able to give more advice. You know, I want more of the episode to be around the card advice, you know. So just getting right into it today. What do we need to know in terms of tips, techniques, you know, mindset shifts to be an epic witch? And don't forget, like I said, this is a general read and it's intended for everybody that watches it to be able to get something to reflect on out of it. So we're doing some reflection. We're hopefully going to be doing some chatting in the comments about what has come up and how we feel about it. Obviously, you can also feel free to put any interpretations that you had down in the comments. There is no one way of interpreting a card in terms of its set themes. There are things we would expect when you're interpreting cards, but sometimes other things come up that nobody else thought of. So you can also please feel free to share your interpretations if you want, or indeed share how my guidance and advice is going to help you as you move forward, or how it might have made you think about changing anything in your practice. I'm excited. I want to know how to be an epic witch as well. How can we be epic witches in accordance with tarot? And the deck I'm using, Modern Witch, beautiful deck. A lot of people have been waiting for this reclamation and reinterpretation of Rider-Waite-Smith, and we love to see it. So the first of the 3 cards for our Tea and Tarot episode today is King of Cups. Oh my gosh, King of Cups has come up. I love that. I love it. Okay, the cutaway is coming now. So you can see this very epic, very confident King of Cups. I really enjoy this interpretation from Modern Witch Tarot. Okay, so I'm going to get right in. King of Cups is a deep feeler. King of Cups is this figure in tarot who deeply feels and has a lot of emotional intelligence, a lot of connection to the emotional realm, is really concerned with connections and bonding with others, but not only that, also with self and with spirit too, and with the deep intuition. So there's a lot of sense of connection here and deep bonding. I really love that. So I want to get into that first of all. What's coming through for me from King of Cups about how to be an epic witch is never to forget that witchcraft has got so much to do with loving, giving, healing, protecting, repairing, and deeply sensitively feeling in to what the next witchy technique needs to be, what the next practice needs to be, what has to come next in order for that healing, that connection, that love to come through. And no, witchcraft is not all about healing and connection and love. It's not. But I think the fact that King of Cups has come through, there's just so much deep love here, sincere desire to connect and to bond. There's a healing power here that this king particularly is representative of. And there's that wonderful feeling of the awe that comes from being overjoyed by how much we can have friendship and love and connection in our lives. I think King of Cups is potentially asking us to be more confident about how we feel about witchhood. What do we feel should be happening next? You know, when you come to your altar, you come to your Sabbath that you're recognizing, or your Esprit, you know, you really come to your Book of Shadows, you come to devotional, whatever it might be, you've got a bit of free time and you want to give it to your witchhood. What do you deeply feel needs to happen? I don't think King of Cups is the type of figure in tarot who sets up a witchhood practice and then goes by rote, you know, by schedule, by a sense of routine of what needs to happen. I think King of Cups rather is a deep feeler, and they feel intuitively into what the next action needs to be with witchhood. And depending on what is going on in your world, in your reality, in your connections with others and with yourself and with the divine, you might decide that something very different is on the agenda for your practice at a given time than was planned or than you did last time. So if you are a very scheduled witch, if you do have a defined sense of what it is that you want to do, what rituals, what study, King of Cups might be asking you to loosen up a little bit more and feel into what the flavour of the craft needs to be. There might be things that you need to respond to in the moment. There might be a deep feeling that you need to abandon what it was that you were going to do a spell around or a ritual and instead redirect your focus elsewhere. You might have a deep intuitive or deep emotional sense that something needs to happen in your craft that wasn't necessarily in the plan, but you kind of just need to sweep everything else to the side and do what needs to be done from this deep place of feeling that that is what is necessary. So there's really a trust in the deep emotion here. King of Cups is a king of connection, as I mentioned previously. So this could really be around ways of being an epic witch, in the sense that you utilize your craft to strengthen your connections with yourself, with others, and with divinity, with Godhead. You use your witchcraft to actually bring in high, beautiful vibes, empathy, understanding, reciprocity, protection of the emotions, and that deep sense that you want harmony and that you can actually put a bit of your craft towards that. Now, I'm not saying that King of Cups is coming along and telling you to like put a love spell on someone or put a spell on everybody in a friendship group so that they're all okay with each other again. Nothing like that. Everybody has different ethics when it comes to that stuff, for sure. But don't forget that you can work in your own witchhood on holding the kind of vibration that at least allows you and your actions and words to be harmonious and to be read that way by others. There's lots of things you can do in that regard. So you don't have to step over your own ethical guidelines in order to bring beautiful, harmonious vibes and energies to different events, different conversations, and different friendships and connections in your personal and professional life, your family life, you know. Even I think King of Cups is very concerned with just making sure that the energy in the home is right with the family members or friends that you live with. I think King of Cups could be very concerned with spiritual hygiene in order to make sure that you protect yourself from other people's strong emotions, and that you also are prepared to work on yours instead of projecting them onto others. King of Cups can often be representative of empathic ability. So if that's you, this card is probably speaking to you right now, asking you to do a little bit of work around your empathic ability. And remember, it is an ability, not just a weakness. It's not just a problem. It's just that we talk about it so often that way because it's a superpower that's really hard to control and really hard to understand. And it gets in the way quite a lot. But I think King of Cups is one of those figures in tarot who has taken empathic ability from being a weakness to being a superpower. And how has this figure in tarot done that? They've done that through making sure that their energetic and emotional boundaries are beautiful and strong. They've done that by processing their own emotions, using their own witchcraft and magic and ritual and all that good stuff, their devotionals, their readings, all of those things. They've done that by making sure that they are in tune with other people's emotions, that they are not just dismissing or indeed becoming eaten alive by other people's emotions. They want to be in tune, but they do not want to be in tune to the point where they lose their own sense of purpose and mission and focus. So I think this is really about spiritual hygiene, emotional hygiene, avoiding projection and not allowing others to project onto you. Maybe it's about beginning your day with some nice, simple, but high and strong witchcraft to ensure that your emotions are kind of figured out, you know, that you can feel into yourself first before you let anything influence you in any regard. And so you can make sure that you're just doing some emotional work within before you allow your emotions to be tangled up into everything else and kind of get confusing. I think King of Cups is definitely a figure in tarot who would consider themselves to be in need of a decent, strong morning practice, even if it's just very sweet and simple, even if it's just a little bit of chanting in the shower, walking through consecrated incense before leaving the house or going on the phone. Maybe if they work from home, King of Cups could be the type to have a crystal on hand or a little bit of empowered jewelry to make sure that the work day goes well emotionally and to make sure that those emotions are regulated and that they are respected, but that they don't take over when work is needing to be done. Really nice tea, darlings. Really good. I feel like there might be something missing. Maybe I don't feel like it's sweet enough. So I'm definitely glad I didn't put the milk in, but I think I would put some sugar in this in the future, perhaps. Yeah. I can't be bothered to go to the kitchen now to get sugar. This is fine. This is good enough. It might just be like a little bit too much cacao for me without the sugar, you know, I think. But yeah, it's a win. It's definitely a win. The final thing that I just want to say about King of Cups before we move on is King of Cups is the king of emotion and connection, love, friendship, but also really just regulating the emotions, understanding the emotions, and allowing oneself to feel the emotions. I therefore think it would be fair to say that one thing about being an epic witch is that we use the craft to heal ourselves emotionally, that we take our emotions to the altar, we take our emotions to the Book of Mirrors, we take our emotions into group practice. We really allow ourselves to utilize the tools of the craft to process our emotions, to feel them in an unashamed way, to deal with them without making them other people's problem when they don't need to be, and to come to some kind of conclusion or release around them, especially using things like ritual. We can explore our emotions using readings. We can ask for help with our emotions from our guides, from our deities. I think that King of Cups is gently reminding us that part of being an epic witch is never to forget that witchcraft is a tool for emotional healing and self-development. It can be a tool for really recognizing what our feelings are and honoring how our feelings have changed and giving ourselves credit and praise and doing ritual around the successes that we've had with processing emotion, with surviving emotion sometimes. You know, so really acknowledge that in your practice, I think. I think when I'm looking at King of Cups right now, I'm gently reminding myself in this moment that when I'm in emotional crisis, when I'm struggling emotionally a lot, it's really nice and refreshing to remember that I have this whole other area of tools that I can use to work on that. And they're witchy tools. They're things that I know from my witchcraft practice. They're things I can do, like going to my goddesses, you know, like doing readings, like scrying. All of these things that I do that actually help me to figure out, regulate, and take action on my emotions, what is happening, you know, and it holds me in that as well. Sometimes it's not time to take action on emotions, but I need somewhere safe to go to feel them, to know that they're okay, to acknowledge that they're happening, you know. And I think a lot of the time for me, sacred space, you know, the altar, the Book of Mirrors, the communion with Goddess, those things make a really safe space for me to do that work, really safe. And no, it's not always that. Sometimes it's talking with friends. Sometimes it's talking with my therapist. Sometimes it's other things. It's going to the gym and getting it out physically. There's lots of different things I do, but there's no doubt that I think King of Cups has come along to remind us that the witchcraft work can always be connected to that. It's another tool that you've got in the kit. And sometimes it's the right one. I love that King of Cups came up first. I'm not going to lie. I really like that. We're going to do a little review of all of the 3 cards when we get to the end. We'll kind of have a reminder of what came up, have a conclusion, if you will. But for now, let's go on to the next card. So I'm going to shuffle again. Next of the 3 for advice and ideas to be an epic witch. Okay. So the next of the 3 cards from Modern Witch Tarot, 2 of Cups. We're getting massive cup energy today. 2 of Cups is the next card to come through. This is really powerful. Okay, there's a few things I want to say here as well, darlings. Right away, when I see 2 of Cups, I'm thinking about giving, receiving, learning, listening, talking, again with the connection and the bonding and everything else that seems to be coming through really strongly for us with this Tea and Tarot episode. So I'm going to break this down in a few different ways. First of all, with 2 of Cups, the cutaway is coming now. You can see it's a really beautiful card, great little interpretation. We've got one individual with their feet on the land and one with their feet in the sea, which I really enjoy. Very powerful. So one thing I want to say about 2 of Cups when it comes to witchhood and being an epic witch is don't forget what you can help others with. And don't forget also that you can receive help from others. And I mean this in a few different ways. I mean this in terms of the witchcraft practice. So you can read books, you can watch videos, you can read blog posts, you can hire a mentor for one-on-one work, you can join an online coven, you can join a coven in your area, you can have conversations on Discord with different witches from all around the world, you can listen to podcasts. All of these different things are you appreciating and gratefully and openly accepting the wisdom of other witches. And I think that is very beautiful in that flowing, harmonious contract that 2 of Cups represents, that sense of give and take, that reciprocity, that sense of benefit that you're receiving from other witches putting out their ideas and their emotions about the craft. But don't forget that you also can give that in return, especially if you've had some skin in the game for a while. Don't forget that you can, if you know about tarot or you know about spellcraft or you have a good idea for doing something or a hack to deal with a witchy problem, don't be afraid to speak up and let your ideas be known. If you see someone asking about a card on a Facebook group or in Discord and you feel like you could give some really good insight into what that card means for a tarot student, don't be afraid to do that. If there's a conversation going on under a YouTube video or a TikTok video about spellcraft or ritual, and you have a really good idea to bring to the table, or even if you just feel like somebody would need some encouragement, somebody might want to know that their video hit the spot and that you enjoyed it and that it brought something to the table, don't be afraid to give that emotional energy and be a witch in conversation, be a witch in discourse. Don't be afraid of witchy connection where possible. So I'm going to ask you with Two of Cups right now, consider what is the next thing that you would like to joyfully and gratefully receive from the witchcraft community? And what is the next thing that you would like to joyfully and willingly give to the witchcraft community? What are those things? You know, maybe take some time to think, and I will take some time to think also. What do I want to be giving? What do I want to be receiving? What am I grateful for being able to learn, for being able to delve into, for being able to drink from? And how do I want to also make sure that I'm putting a cup back on the table with my own stuff, with my own potentially useful things that others could take from or learn from? And I think in my case, what's really coming up for me, darlings, is that I obviously do put out materials for witches. I make things for witches. I mentor a lot of witches. So for me, it probably wouldn't be so much that, because I think I've got that base covered. But I think for me, it's probably going to be more like, how can I encourage new witches coming in to the discussion? How can I really make a point of including witches that are newer on the path? How can I give more encouragement when I see something that I really love? How can I put myself out there more in terms of just connecting with different witches? Let me not get too comfortable with the connections I have made or the people that I do know, and let me kind of like broaden my horizons there. And what kinds of conversations do I want to have about the craft this year? I think that's another question that Two of Cups is bringing up for me that I will very much enjoy answering. What kinds of discourses am I interested in? And am I going to get those things just from books and conversations in my real life witchy coven, which is 3 of us, that we sort of exchange back and forth, my 2 friends and I? Or am I also going to bring that up in videos, or find a Discord about that, or, you know, go into a group situation where I might discuss that? What do I want to do? The sky's the limit. Like, you know, there's so many different opportunities and ways of connecting with witchy community. So it's interesting that that's come up in terms of how we can be epic witches. Even for me, someone who freely says, like, I'm never going to want to join a coven, probably never going to want to do group ritual or anything of that nature. I'm very solitary in that way. Even for me, I feel that this card is coming through with a lot of reminders that even if I don't want those things, there is a lot of beauty that I can get from just enjoying the company and the conversation. Even if I don't want to go deeply into it, even if I don't want to remain in a particular group or conversation or whatever, it's great to do some research, share some ideas, see what's going on. You know, I think it keeps us from being jaded, and it keeps us brave. You know, it kind of challenges us a bit. So even if you're listening to this and you're thinking this advice is not for me, I just want to sit this one out, I just want to lurk, you know, I'm not really into getting really into it and giving my opinion, I would ask you, whereabouts do you sometimes hold back on opinions that could be super useful, or ideas that you have, or information that you have? Where do you hold back because you're just afraid, but actually you would like to be involved? You would like to have those conversations. You would like to gift yourself that. I think that's a very interesting card to come through. There was kind of an interesting theme that I touched on with King of Cups before that I think also feeds its way through into Two of Cups. With King of Cups, I mentioned that there is kind of this focus on connection and caring and love and friendship and community. And it's really about how you might want to direct your witchhood so that that is enhanced. And it starts with you. It starts with enhancing your ability to have those things in a healthy way, to enjoy them, to make sure you're bringing the right mentality to them. I think that does thread through with Two of Cups. Two of Cups also is about bonding. It's about connection. It's about some kind of an emotional contract. But I'm going to take this in a slightly different direction, okay? I do think Two of Cups is saying that epic witches are good at emotional hygiene. They're good at knowing what is their emotion and what is the other person's emotion. Further to that, I think epic witches know a thing or two about cord cutting, cleansing and releasing energy, you know, making sure that when they have a very fraught emotional conversation, or when they have guests in their home, or when they've been around a group of people and then they've come back home, that they cleanse their energy, that they feel like they're back to a neutral point where they're holding only their energy signature and nothing else. Now, this will be dependent upon your beliefs, but I think the vast majority of witches, certainly that I speak to, do have a belief that energy can get kind of funky and emotions can get kind of confusing after we've had a lot of different interactions with different people that we feel various ways about. And so I think Two of Cups is about what happens after we have any kind of interaction, or indeed before we have any kind of interaction. Sometimes we might need some cleansing, just some emotional release, you know, to do a few little witchcraft techniques that help in that regard, that help us to be centered, to know what it is that we are feeling or we are processing, and to know what is not ours to deal with. I think a lot of interesting techniques are available in the craft for that. You know, for me, I try to do some spiritual work before I come on my phone, and certainly before I speak to any clients. I also occasionally need to do some grounding or some release work after I speak with clients. I'm very good, usually, about making sure that I have an energetic protection on before I leave the home, especially if I'm going to be doing a number of different things like running errands, seeing friends, definitely going on public transport, definitely a big one for me. Sometimes I work with power jewelry in order to just protect my energy and my emotional spectrum, my aura, if you will. I think a lot of these things are just, they're ripe for the picking in the craft. There's so many different things we can do in that regard. If you've been forgetting to make sure that your aura is on lock and that you feel nice and sturdy and strong before interacting online or in person, maybe that's a way in which you can be a more epic practitioner in the coming weeks. I think Two of Cups is a wonderful celebration of what can happen between people, but for a witch it also might have an interesting warning element for us to heed, right? This suggestion that we should not forget to use our witchy tools to make sure that those interactions don't set us off kilter. All right, my darlings, it is time for the final card for this Tea and Tarot episode on how to be an epic witch. I'm just going to do another little shuffle and we'll see what wants to come through to confront this veritable tsunami of water energy. It's very elementally slanted right now in the direction of water, so maybe, who knows, for some of us it could be about doing a lovely big elemental path working with water, or indeed with the Suit of Cups in tarot, meditating on water, what it means to us and what we get from that particular energy. Okay, the final card. Final card is Justice. Oh, wow. Okay. I have something to say about this coming through. Here's the cutaway now, darling, so you can have a look at this very epic Justice card from Modern Witch. You really feel the sheer determination with this figure, and I really feel like this person just has their shit together entirely, and I love it. It's a very potent interpretation. Okay, so Justice. For me, this card can only mean deeply one thing, that I can use my witchcraft to be effectual in the world. Justice is a card that has got so much to do with redressing imbalances. It's got so much to do with ensuring that things are fair and equal. It's got so much to do with setting up systems or recreating systems so that they work in favour of everyone. There's a lot of social justice here. There's a lot of advocacy here. There's a lot of zooming in on what is unfair, what is uneven, what is wonky in the foundations, and really putting our power and potency and intention into that. What does that mean in terms of being an epic witch? Well, it can mean looking at things that are imbalanced in our own personal lives, right? And making sure that we are utilising our magic and ritual and our workings for that. It can be about sending potent energy and really high vibes and strong intentions and strength to people, groups of people or individual people who are fighting for things that are just and right and righteous and that would make the world better. It can mean doing that for the planet. It can mean doing that in your community. It can mean doing that for your family or your friendship group, who also can be a family, when wrong has been done against them. It can mean looking at how you want to direct your witchhood towards oppression. It can mean looking at what you want to do in order to be effectual in your life in relation to things that mean something to you, causes that you would like to see getting more attention, getting more energy put into them. It could be to do with taking action that you've been afraid of taking in your own defence or in the defence of others, and using witchcraft to prepare you to be strong enough to take that action and to feel fortitude as you take that action. This can be about daring. This card can be about daring. It can be about remaining steadfast in the face of power that is against you, in the face of something adversarial that's coming at you. So I think this can really be about defending yourself, making sure things are fair for you, making sure you get what you're entitled to, but also making sure that you advocate with your witchhood on behalf of others who are seeking to do that. The Justice card can really be about trying to feel into where your witchhood might be useful, feel into where you might be needed. Whereabouts can you do some good? You don't know? Do some divination around it. You know, ask your guides. Try and find out where you can put some of that witchy energy to get the maximum possible positive result that is beautiful, not only for yourself, but for people in your midst as well. There's definitely like a community activism thing happening here. There's definitely a beautiful sense of making sure that things are fair for everyone around you and not just for you. There's definitely a sense of making sure that if things are a bit wonky or uneven in your life, whether it's in terms of give and take, whether it's in terms of, you know, the work-life balance, you know, whether it's in terms of how much you've been going out socializing versus how much you've been staying in and doing your stuff, wherever you want to get that balance going again, witchcraft could definitely be directed there as well. Whereabouts do you need to make some amends, make some changes, do a little bit of shifting and shuffling things around so that you do not feel like the scales are really in one direction or another. And again, we can use witchcraft to help us to understand where that might be happening. So if things feel a little bit off key or a little bit weird, out of balance, and we're not sure how, we can use our connections with our guides and our higher selves, our deities. We can use our runes, our cards. We can use scrying. We can use ritual and magic. We can use meditation, visualization. All these things we can use to actually figure out where that sense of imbalance is coming from and what we can do to address that and change that. We don't need to have all the answers straight away to be able to immediately just select the technique and do the witchcraft. We can actually ask, where do I need to direct the witchcraft? Something is off, but I'm not sure where it is. I'm not sure what needs to be addressed, you know, and let those notions and those insights and those messages come to you. The Justice card is very potent for witches because it reminds us that we always have this other tool. Whatever we need to do to make sure that something is put right, to make sure that a wrong is addressed, to make sure that we have enough ground for ourselves, that we can use our voices, that we are in the service of people who deserve to be able to use theirs as well. We always have witchcraft as well as whatever else we are doing to stand up, to advocate, to be heard, to make sure that things are as equal and as fair and as just as they can be. Witchcraft is another way of doing that. Now, according to your ethics, you are going to have a different take on what it means to seek justice using the craft. Some of you will have done it in different ways, and I'd actually like to have a conversation about that down in the comments if anybody would be so bold as to get that conversation started, because I know that it's different for different witches, right? But for some, they have hurried justice along in various ways, and certainly given their energy and intention to a specific side that they would like to see win in some regard, or to gain ground, or to have more space, or to have a louder voice. You know, putting your witchcraft towards that can be very potent and very emotional and very rewarding. So I think that's what the final card is saying about being an epic witch. Let's not leave it at just you know, heightening or feeding what is good, but also looking at what might be an issue and putting our intentions towards that, and knowing that we have potency in that way as witches as well. Oh, I'm going to have to come back after my client. I've got a client in a few minutes, and I'd like to do a little meditation before, you know, to get the emotional energy right, you know, do the spiritual hygiene. I listen to my own advice, darlings. I take my own advice, okay? So I've got to go and do that, but I'll be back with the conclusion in just the matter of a jump cut. Okay, I am post-client after that jump cut. That was very inspiring. It's always really inspiring for me to speak to clients. I'm very buzzing now. I don't know if you've noticed actually, but my energy in this one is quite hype. I was very excited to do a tea and tarot episode. I always forget how much I miss it, to be honest. Okay, so I want to do the little conclusion from these three cards, these three very powerful cards: King of Cups, Two of Cups, and Justice. Okay, so what we've kind of concluded from this is that management of our emotions, being aware of our emotions, having respect for other people's emotions, all of that can be part of the craft. The spiritual hygiene that is required for that, especially if you have empathic ability, is also a really good part of being an epic witch. We've concluded that you can give your attention in witchcraft to the strengthening and the preservation of bonds with others, the bond with yourself, and the bond with divinity as well. there was definitely some interesting messages in there about, you know, giving and receiving, teaching, helping, supporting, being part of community, recognizing the potency of that, and how you might want to socialize when it comes to the craft and have certain conversations and get into dialogue. And then finally, there was this whole piece about being effectual in the wider world and going for justice and fairness and change at a fundamental level, or even, you know, a level that goes beyond just your personal dealings and your personal life, although it can be very much a part of your personal journey and life as well. It depends what's necessary and at what time. Knowing that you can utilize the craft out in the wider world, and that is a beautiful part of it too. Thank you so much for coming along and listening to these insights from the cards about how to be an epic witch. I've loved this episode so much, and I'd love to hear from you all down below what your experiences have been with leveling up with your witchcraft. And I do make quite a few videos about this here on the channel, this subject of leveling up in the craft, making your craft more personalized, more sophisticated, more effectual. I've talked about potent spellcraft. I've talked about, you know, going to the next level with your practice. So I will leave some videos down below if you want to hear more from me on that and you haven't seen those, then you can check them out as well. Darlings, just a few things I want to let you know before I end here today. First of all, I am a tarot teacher. I do mentor card slingers. I also give readings. I also offer witchcraft mentoring sessions. So if you want to talk to me about the development of your craft, how it's going, and how you personally would like to take it to a more epic level, then I'll also leave individual links for each of those different purchase options down below. You can get booked into my schedule and we will do some tailored one-on-one work together. Another thing you might want to know is that there is a Patreon, and there are several different tiers on Patreon. I offer every single month printables, Discord access, a one-card riff video, and there's other bits and pieces as well. I just recently put out an audio offering about how to deal with worry and different techniques for that. There's been a printable that came out just last month called Aims of the Mage, which helps you to kind of organise your different aims and go through and sort of workbook. The one card riff is a one card reading for the whole of Patreon that comes out every month. And with the higher tiers, you get a couple of live sessions with me every month as well, where we do workshops, rituals, and also just sit and have a cup of tea and a chat. So if you have some spare money and you would like to be part of the Patreon community, please check out the link down below. Much love, darlings, and blessed be for now. Mwah. Darlings, just to let you know, I also decided to do an afterthoughts episode over on Patreon that's connected to the themes of this Tea and Tarot episode. So if you want to get more advice from me about how to be an epic witch and some of my personal thoughts on how that's been in my journey, then pop over onto Patreon and become a dollface or a pop-tart to get access to that afterthoughts episode, and also the other afterthoughts episodes in the series, which are all available to you once you join.